I'm going to assume that we're rolling now. So hi everyone, my name is Gail O'Neill. I'm a writer for Arts ATL, and I'm so happy to be in conversation with two veterans of the Atlanta Ballet and two newbies. Welcome to Ben and to Georgia. A couple of housekeeping items. We encourage you to turn on speaker view for the best viewing experience. And although I can fill up this time with all of my questions, we also encourage you to make comments and to ask questions in the comments and questions section. So I'm going to start by having each of you, the dancers. Georgia, I'll start with you because you're in the top left of my screen. Just introduce yourself, tell us your name, where you're from, and how long you've been with the company.
My name is Georgia Dalton. I'm from Columbus, Ohio, and this is my first season with Atlanta Ballet.
Welcome to Atlanta.
Thank you.
Jordan?
Hi, my name is Jordan Leeper. I'm originally from Jamestown, New York, and this is my 6th season with the company.
Isn't Lucille Ball from Jamestown, New York?
She is. She is. Home of Lucille Ball.
Yes,
like
yes.
The only thing we have.
Hey, they have you too, Jordan. Don't shortchange yourself. Ben,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Ben Kiefler. This is my first season with the company.
Where are you
I'm from Boston, Massachusetts.
From Boston. Oh, and Georgia just came from Boston, so there's a little bit of a connection there.
Yeah.
Were you with Boston Ballet as well?
No. I live like an hour west of the city, so I'm just a little bit outside.
Okay. Well, very nice to meet you, and welcome to Atlanta. And
Thank
Fuki?
Hi, everyone. My name is Fuki Takahashi. I'm from Yokohama, Japan, and this is my 3rd season with the company and my first as an official member.
All right, I have a general question for everyone. I'll let you decide who goes first. Can you recall the first time that you were moved either by a ballet or dance or some kind of live performance art, what you felt inside and how it brought you to where you are today? Jordan, go ahead. I can tell you.
Yeah, I was like, funny enough, I mean, I'd have to say the Nutcracker when I was younger. I'd say I was in about 5th grade when I first saw the Nutcracker. And I remember reaching over to my teacher and saying, I want to do that one day. That looks fun. And from there on out, it was always in the back of my mind. I didn't start ballet until about 7th grade, but I think when I saw the Nutcracker in 5th grade was when it really kind of sparked an interest in me.
And what closed the gap between you being 10 years old and 12 and finally getting to dance class? Were you having to convince your parents in the interim, or did you not know the path to becoming a professional dancer?
Well, initially, I started off as a competitive figure skater. So before I jumped into the ballet world, I was already doing competitive figure skating, which is very expensive. So when I brought ballet up, they were like, you can do it as an after-school activity, but we can't afford to pay for you to take ballet while we're paying for figure skating as well. So with enough complaining, I got them to allow me to overlap for like a year. And then they made me make a decision, and I wound up choosing ballet. But that's kind of how it rolled on. It just took a little time convincing the parents.
As always. And Fuki, do you recall a moment in a dance, a ballet, a live performance where you thought, I want to do that. This is where I'm meant to be?
Well, I kind of started ballet because my grandma enrolled me in it. It was just for health and benefits. I think she loved the art form, but she never expected me to be a dancer. I just started going when I was about 3 or 4. But when I was in 3rd grade, I went to go see a performance by Paris Opera Ballet in Japan. And I just saw the girls up there about my age dancing so beautifully. And I just went home and talked to my mom, and I said, this is definitely what I want to do, and I want to pursue this. Here I am, dancing.
Ben, what was the spark for you?
Well, I actually started dancing because my little sister joined this local school right next to our house. She started joining and was taking class, and it was kind of like, that looks good. I want to do that. She's actually also with the company as well. But I kind of like stepped in through her to kind of start dancing. And then I remember a few years later, we had some like friends who had seasonal tickets to Boston Ballet. And I got to go once a year and go see a ballet. And I remember like watching Boston perform Jules on stage it was something that kind of like turned like, oh, this is really fun to do on the side thing, to kind of be like, oh, this is like, people take this really, really seriously. So it's like, it kind of like opened my eyes a little bit to kind of help me realize that, I wanted to keep it a bit more real than a bit more of a hobby.
And Georgia?
Similar to Fuki's story, my parents just put me in ballet when I was 3 because I had so much energy. They were like, what do we do with this child? So basically, since I can remember, I was just dancing. And I remember I went to a super small studio, and it was very family oriented. And the younger girls always looked up to the older girls. They were our role models. And I saw those point shoes and I was like, I need those. And I remember at Nutcracker, they would sell decorated point shoes stuffed with tulle. So you were like, they were the older girls' dead point shoes. And I had 2 shoes and I would put them on in my room, and they were too big for me, and they were dead, and they were old, and they were filled with tulle. We weren't supposed to put them on our feet, but I was like, I need point shoes. And that was my goal, just to be one of those older girls who could dance in those point shoes. And then I fell in love with it along the way, and the rest is history.
None of you are natives to Atlanta. What brought you to the city, and what brought you to Atlanta Ballet in particular? Fuki, I'll start with you.
Well, I kind of traveled around. First I was dancing in Japan, and then I danced in New York a little bit, and then I was with Orlando before this. 3 competitions.
Excuse me, 1 second, Fuki. I can hear someone's open mic, so if everyone can either mute their microphones or mute their children and puppies in the background. Okay, Fuki, go ahead, sorry.
Well, I was about to say, I attended a ballet competition, and Gennady, our artistic director, invited me to, come join and dance with Atlanta Ballet, and have a great fun. That's how I got to Atlanta.
Jordan, how have you evolved as a dancer as a result of being a member of Atlanta Ballet?
Oof, wow. I would say I've learned a lot about myself. When I first joined the company, I had just turned 24. I was leaving my previous company, which was the Charlotte Ballet. And at that time, I felt like I still needed a little bit more male nurturing as far as older seasoned male dancers for me to look up to. And I kind of saw that at Atlanta Ballet with some of the males that were here at the time. I felt like they had a lot to offer me, and so I came here. And they really helped me grow a lot and mature and almost learn how to command the stage a little bit more in a sense. And just be more affirmative in my role here and on stage and what I'm doing and what I'm trying to purvey.
Ben, do you find it's difficult or more of a challenge for male dancers to find role models in the ballet?
I mean, I would say that it depends on what you're looking for, but I've given the benefit of social media and what we have today, it's not as hard to find someone to inspire to and someone to look up to as it seems. I would say in person, like someone who you can actually interact with, yeah, I think it's not as easy, but something that I've noticed, even though I've only been in the career side of the dance world for this is going on 4 years, I can say that if you get to know any of an older generation of professional dancers as male, you can start to see that there's something to look up to in pretty much everyone that you interact with. And I think that we kind of also, as the younger men, kind of feed off each other's energy, and I think that kind of helps us to drive as well. But to look up to, I'd say, yeah, I wouldn't find it too hard to find motivation and people to aspire to.
Georgia, a challenge for any dancer, new dancer coming into a company, is creating chemistry and camaraderie and so on. You're having to do it with half of everyone's faces covered. So are you having trouble recognizing your new colleagues? And talk to me about that, entering a company in the midst of a pandemic.
Well, that was one thing that was really nerve-wracking, thinking about this move, thinking about this transition. I mean, any season, joining a new company, that's an intense moment for any new dancer. Seeing how the company works, them not knowing you, you not knowing them, how are you going to interact? There's always that first impression that always ends up being way more intimidating than you actually are as a real person. And I was like, how is anyone going to see me smile if I have this mask on? It's like, so I tried to make my eyes really big. I was like trying to use my eyebrows. Like, I'm so excited to be here. So excited to meet you. But I have been welcomed like so warmly from everyone that I have been able to interact with at the studios at the ballet. I still haven't met in person every single member of the company, which is still weird. And every so often now I'll see a new person. I'll be like, oh, hi, I haven't met you yet. But overall, it's been an amazing experience that I didn't imagine having during a pandemic. So it's been good.
Jordan, of course, physicality is key to being a dancer, and trust, being able to hold one another. So what is it like having to be in physical proximity to your partner, but knowing that we're in the midst of a virus that is potentially deadly? How has that impacted the way that you move, the way you think, the way that you move?
Wow, that's a great question. Personally, for me, I feel like it's made me a lot more spatially aware. In a sense, a lot of times dancers have a tendency to kind of dance on top of each other a little bit sometimes. But it's hard because they're like, we've danced with our partners for so long and they're right there and we have that connection, and it's like so hard to not be able to have that physical touch because dance is so much about like that physical connection as well with your partner. So it is very challenging, but yeah, I think it's just something that it's a new norm that we're all kind of trying to get used to right now.
Yeah.
But
Fuki, I know the studios closed down, I think it was mid-March, and then reopened in August. So when you were anticipating coming back to Atlanta Ballet, what was the thing you were telling yourself, as soon as I get back there, I'm going to, or I can't wait to? And I know you can't hug each other, so what was the one thing you were really looking forward to?
Well, dancing in the studios. I missed it when, obviously the quarantine started. We had to, grab onto our kitchen counters or anything that was stable enough to do bar. But, just being in the studio and just the energy from other dancers, it's different than dancing at home. So I was mostly really excited to go back into the studios and, not hug, but see everyone and say hi. And it's inspiring to dance with my peers. So I think that's what I was really most excited about.
Ben, you know how when we're deprived of something, once we get it back, then we really appreciate what we had to begin with? What has coming back to the studio and being proximate to your dancers taught you about what you had all along, but maybe took for granted before?
I would say that given that we spend, everyone thinks that, like training period of a dancer is not super long, but I mean, I've been doing it since I've been 8 years old. I'm sure most people have been doing it since they're 4, 3 years old. It's a long process, but as a kid, you don't rehearse, at least for a long time. You kind of just do class. And so you spend a lot of your childhood and your like training just doing class. And I think after joining a company, or what it is joining a company, the class is kind of on the background. It's kind of more of a personal thing. And the main focus is the rehearsal and performing and presenting to an audience. And I think being away from that for like 6 months and coming back to just class made me realize how much I can still get out of it even after I've already transitioned into the rehearsal and company kind of aspect of ballet. So I would say that.
Georgia, has there been an upside to being in solitude for the past 5, 6 months?
I think so. I think as dancers, we're going, and especially with, I think everyone on here, depending on what company we're in, we're all working towards a performance, and that's a very high stress time. Your body is stressed, you're sore, you're working so hard. So that 5 months to just sit, as challenging as it was also a time for us to breathe, where we've never had this type of time before as professional dancers. We're always going. Personally, I did like a lot of meditating and just like was in nature alone. And I think that we can now start to bring into this new era of dance, to show our appreciation for like this other side of things. But I do think there was an upside, having that time to breathe, where we probably haven't had that ever in our professional careers.
Yeah, right. And Jordan, what about you? I'm curious, and this is a question for all of you. What's your favorite TV show you've been binging? What new Corona snacks have you come up with? You know, when you're home alone, the imagination goes wild. And what have you been doing to stay in shape? I can see you're all in fantastic shape. You're young, so that helps. So you take us there, Jordan. Either binging on food, TV, and staying in shape.
Yes, all the things. As far as TV shows, I rewatched a lot of old shows that I have already loved. Honestly, I'm a big fan of this TV show called Avatar: The Last Airbender. So I re-binged, I re-binged that show. I started another show on Netflix called Schitt's Creek that has just started its 6 seasons. I love Grey's Anatomy, so I binge watched that again. As far as snacks, I did a lot of calling my mom and asking for recipes on how to cook home-cooked things that I didn't know how to make. Lots of home-cooked meals, lots of oxtails. My mother's also, she's Swedish, so I had a lot of Scandinavian foods. And journaling. I got weirdly into journaling, which is something I never did before, with all the time on my hands. So that's kind of how I preoccupied my time a little bit with the quarantine situation.
Mm-hmm. Ben, you were nodding at the snack section. So what do you want to tell us?
Well, I love food. My fiance is Finnish, and so I have kind of come to like very highly appreciate what one can do with fish. Mostly salmon over there, but I'm starting to find like what works over here as well. Like there's some white fish, and I'm learning what I can do with that, which is pretty great. I have glorified my favorite show is Peaky Blinders, and I have rewatched it again several times, and it's quite amazing. But I will admit I definitely quite a few cinnamon rolls in my quarantine as well.
Oh yeah, Yuki, Fuki.
Hi. Well, I don't even know where to start in the shows. I watched so many over the quarantine. Well, I started rewatching Game of Thrones because I love that show. I also love to bake. So my favorite show I would say is it's on Netflix. It's called Great British Baking Show.
Oh yes.
That's definitely my favorite show. Snack-wise, I pretty much eat what I can get my hands on. What looks good at the grocery store is typically my go-to snack. During quarantine, I try to, because I have so much like creative energy from like not rehearsing or anything, so I tried to gear it towards sewing and painting.
Sewing and painting?
Yes. Sorry, is it hard to hear?
No, you blanked out a little bit on sewing. Okay. So few people know how to sew. I thought I was hearing wrong. That's impressive.
I taught myself how to sew and make masks for coronavirus. And then I started painting. That's about it. And try to keep myself occupied.
Well, while I asked Georgia that same question, if you want to go get a painting and hold it up for us, we would love to see what you're doing. Georgia, snacks, binging, TV, staying in shape.
Like Jordan, I also watched the Avatar: The Last Airbender. That was really good, and also Schitt's Creek. And I took on baking. My birthday was like at a really hard time during quarantine, like the end of April when nothing was going on, everything was closed. So I made my own birthday cake, and I was really proud of that. And I was cooking for my parents a lot too. They normally don't like my healthy cooking. So I was trying to find a good balance between like healthy foods, but like that also tasted good. So they were actually super impressed with some of the recipes that I was doing. And I got to the point where I was cooking for them every night dinner. So I'm sure that they miss me now that I am no longer home. Staying in shape, I was taking class in my living room, holding onto a chair, probably like everyone else was. Lots of Pilates YouTube videos, yoga YouTube videos, walking. I went on lots of walks as well, the quarantine walk. You could tell, like if you were in your car or if you were walking and someone else was walking, you're like, they're on a quarantine walk.
Yes, I know the look. Fuki, did you find a painting you want to show us?
Behind me. It's kind of embarrassing, but
oh my God, hold it closer to the screen. That is so good. Wow, I'm really impressed. Question for all of you. What other art forms inform or inspire you as a dancer or inform your expression as an artist?
I think music mostly.
Any particular genre?
Just anything and everything. I don't know. I think music inspires you to dance, and I mean, the best ones are the ones that gives you like chills, you know. And I think the music is one of the art forms that inspires me the most.
What's the art form that gives you chills, Ben?
Yeah, music is really beautiful. I've loved the enforcement from my parents to learn piano when I was young. I think it's really helped my ballet, because to just understand musicality and to appreciate classical music as well, because I think we all do as dancers, but there's a lot of beautiful works without a single word ever spoken. And as she said, music is really beautiful. I would say that.
Jordan?
Yeah, I'd probably jump on the same bandwagon as them and say probably musical theater. I love musical theater. Yeah, and then as before I said, I was a competitive figure skater before, so that will always be a big love and joy of mine. I always love how gracious and how easy they look, like they glide. And I try and incorporate that sometimes, like in my porter bra or my movement sometimes, to try to create that ease that they have on the ice sometimes. But yeah, so probably figure skating and musical theater.
Mm-hmm. And Georgia?
I would say music as well. And like Ben, I took piano lessons for 10 years. So that definitely influences. I mean, we dance in class to piano music every day. So it's just built in with our technique and our artistry.
All right, I'm looking up a quote that a friend of mine just sent me today. Jordan, if you'll do me a favor and look in the chat room and see if there are any chats or questions there. I'm going to let you be my social secretary. You asked the question, and I'm going to look up this quote in the meantime.
I see a question that says, what is our dream role that we have not danced?
We have not danced.
I would say Romeo from Romeo and Juliet.
It's just, yeah, you can't go wrong with Romeo there.
I was about to say, like Romeo and Juliet's like one of my favorite ballets, so probably Juliet. The music, again, is so beautiful.
Nice.
Georgia?
Yeah,
I mean, I have had the opportunity to do Sugar Plum Fairy in very smaller settings, but I am just a sucker for Nutcracker, and Sugar Plum Fairy is the most magical fairy ballerina that you can get. So that's always been mine.
nice. Yeah, I'd say I don't know if I particularly have like a specific role. I feel like I more have like choreographers that I kind of have dreams of working with instead of like specific set roles.
Put it out there in the universe. Who are those choreographers you dream of working with?
I would love to do some Crystal Pite. I think her movement and what she does is incredible. I love David Dawson. I love William Forsythe. I mean, Oha Naharin. I mean, the list goes on, but yeah.
That's a great start. So how did you all respond when you found out the fall and spring seasons were going to be canceled? Georgia.
Well, that means no Nutcracker, the way that we traditionally would know it. And looking at it and getting that notification, obviously our bodies aren't in the place where we could put on a full production like we're used to. So it's almost a breath of relief knowing that everywhere we all have this time to start slowly building back what we lost. They say that every day that you take off as a professional athlete, it takes you 2 days to get back into that same shape. So 5 months, you can calculate that. So it is a nice breath of relief to know that we have this time, but especially Nutcracker, I think is such a marker each year for a dancer. You are able to be seen a lot, and especially as new dancers too, like our artistic staff hasn't really been able to see us perform or dance. So it's definitely hard to take in, but we're all going through it together. And that's the only thing that I can keep coming back to, is we're all in this together.
Exactly. Fuki, give us a before and after picture. What your day as a dancer was like before the coronavirus and after. In other words, how many hours were you spending in studio in rehearsals? I just assumed that you guys have been doing your rehearsals on Zoom, but to Georgia's point, you have been losing precious time and days and hours in studio.
So before the coronavirus, we started our morning class at 9:30, and it was an hour and, was it 9:30? It was 9:30. So I don't know now. And we finished, it was like an hour and a half class, and we would have rehearsals after till 6:15 with only an hour for lunch. So that was our day before the coronavirus. And after, well, right now dancers are in different pods. So there are 4 different pods we're dancing in. And starting this week, we started 45 minutes of rehearsals. But so far, it's just an hour or 2 hour block of class a day. It's our day so far. It's definitely hard. But like Georgia said, you have to be patient and you have to build your muscles back up. So I'm grateful to be back in the studio.
Do the pods remain the same day after day, Jordan, or are you all switching things up?
No. Yeah, our pods remain the same in who we're taking class with on a day-to-day basis, and who we're rehearsing with and who we're allowed to rehearse with remains strictly within the pods that we are working in. So we're not really trying to intermingle or mix pods right now.
Right. And Ben, what are the off hours like for dancers? Do you all just retreat to your homes and isolate, or are you hanging out a little bit, doing things young people do?
Well, the hanging out part is very restricted. It's not an easy thing to do.
Restricted by the ballet or by the CDC or just by your own determination?
I think I would say just personal respect towards the house and how much effort they're putting in to kind of set it up so we can work. I think that the fact that as hard as it is to just go and take class, I keep having to remind myself that, the number of companies in the US that don't even have a company anymore are just let go. They quit and they may never start again is devastating. And so the fact that we have a job to go to, I want to try to make sure I can always go to that job. So I guess the outside thing is as little as it can be, just because I want to respect that and keep that going. And I want to, be able to perform. But I'd say something that at least I've done while being in Atlanta for such a short time was we had a few days off, and I ended up going to like 3 different hiking locations, which was pretty fun. So I got to see a little bit of the naturey side of Georgia, which is great because it's southern for me.
Jordan, what has quarantine taught you about yourself, being in solitude and being introspective, if you are introspective?
Well, it kind of taught me that I am equally introvert as extrovert. Normally, before coronavirus, I'm a pretty active person. I like to be on the go. I like to hang out with friends. And so that's usually my life. But being in Corona, I was kind of like, oh no, what am I going to do? Like, I like hanging out with my friends. Like, I'm going to go crazy. Like, but I kind of learned that I really like keeping and being to myself as well. It actually has not bothered me as much as I thought it was going to bother me or drive me crazy or insane. Yeah, a lot of reflecting. Like I said earlier, I've gotten into some journaling. So writing some things down, some old thoughts, resurfacing things that I haven't thought about in a long time. It's a lot of me time, but I've really enjoyed it.
Mm-hmm. Fuki, I see you nodding over there. What thoughts are going through your head?
Oh, just like Jordan was saying, the first the first few weeks, I thought I was kind of going crazy, just because I missed my friends and just seeing, because we're humans and we need to interact. So I just, even going to the grocery store was, a refreshing human interactions, and I obviously missed it. But towards the end, I learned to connect with my family because my family lives back in Japan. So I got to reconnect more with my family and my friends through social media, which was a great opportunity because more people were on social media and more people had their phones with them. So I was able to talk to them and FaceTime them, and it was nice reconnecting with friends more.
Yeah. Georgia, what about that? The aspect of social media and being able to, have you met fans of the Atlanta Ballet through their social media pages, through their Facebook and Instagram accounts? You guys have beautiful accounts, by the way. Pictures are so lovely.
I've interacted with a couple people over social media in terms of like Atlanta Ballet patrons or donors or people that participate with the Atlanta Ballet social media. But I think in general with social media over quarantine, it was kind of like a double-edged sword. It was nice to see that other people were going through it, but also I think social media can also set a false expectation of what our lives are supposed to be like. So I actually took like a lot of time off social media while I was in the dead like heart of quarantine, just for my mental health. But I was able to connect with a lot of friends that I haven't seen for a while with Zoom and like great things that have been popping up for us to like reconnect with our friends we haven't talked to in a while. So that was a really positive thing to come out of quarantine as well.
Ben, the connection between artists and the audiences that you touch has got to be a really important aspect of being a dancer. What has it been like going without that? You guys are suffering a drought in that sense for the past 7 months. There's been no one there applauding, no one there looking, no one, little ones standing backstage, and you seeing the stars in their eyes, them seeing in you what you saw when you first saw a Nutcracker or your first ballet. So what has it been like living through that drought? Like what do you appreciate now that you perhaps may have taken for granted before?
That's a really good question. I would say, wow, I feel like that given, as you said, it is kind of almost taken granted. It's taken for granted that you kind of just expect the applause. You can tell usually when everyone's bowing, like the feel of the audience, and if it's more active, if it's more passive, if it's smaller, if it's bigger. But what I've noticed that what I care more about, even more than just the applause and how that people show up, as wonderful as it is to support the arts and everything, is when you rarely bump into someone outside of the actual performance and they come up to you, or maybe after a show or something, someone comes up to you and they give you a message, or they present something that you personally did for them through your dancing. That's like, I miss that so much. Probably the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life was I was blessed to go tour in Bangkok, and I was with a colleague of mine, and she is a gainer girl. And we were on the other side of the world. And after our performance, this little 5-year-old girl came up to her and said that, I have your poster in my bedroom, and I look up to you. And like, you would never see that. Like, it blew me away that like, no matter where you go, people will completely adore the arts. And I miss it so much.
Mm-hmm. Fuki, same question for you. What the distance from the audience has taught you about that relationship?
Well, I just really miss being on stage and feeling of, the build up to go on stage, and, that feeling of anticipation, and just even after like performing, after you're done performing, and that feeling of like the warmth and the energy that's coming out from your audience, and just like the accomplishment that you feel. I definitely took it for granted when I was, performing. But I'm trying to focus on myself in the studio and trying to get back. Just picturing it in my head next time I'll be on stage.
Jordan, how do you explain the change in chemistry from audience to audience? It's fascinating to me when performers talk about how audiences are different every night. It's like a relationship.
Yes. It is very interesting. Different audiences' reactions, given the time, whether it's a matinee show or an evening show, whether it's a Friday or a Saturday show. It's always a good reaction either way, no matter whether it's a matinee or an evening. But evenings seem to be a little bit more riled, a little bit more free. The audience seem to enjoy evening shows a little bit more. They seem to be a little bit more lively in the audience for evening shows. But I mean, as far as performing sense, I mean, I go out there and I just want to do my job to the best of my abilities, period, no matter if there's 2 people in the audience or 1,500 people in the audience. It can get hard sometimes, drowning when you feel like an audience is a little dead. But we are luckily blessed with a pretty great audience here. So all of our shows seem to go pretty well.
Georgia, tell me what you miss most about life pre-coronavirus.
What I miss most? Maybe going to the grocery store without a care, or a restaurant, hugging a friend or my grandma. I think ballet is a major part of it. The simplicity of getting on the bus and walking into the studio or the theater, being in a dressing room packed with girls, like doing their makeup, getting ready for the show, or these little moments that we all took so much for granted. There's so much I miss, but I'm so thankful to have everyone safe and finally be dancing again.
That's right. Patience is everything. All right, I'm going to check the chat room, and you guys check with me. And if there's a question that stands out to you, feel free to answer it. Here's one. My daughter is 8 years old and listening with me right now. Hello, daughter. What advice would you give her as a young dancer? She's currently taking classes with Atlanta Ballet. That's from Linda. You want to take that one, Jordan?
Yes. I would say just keep pushing and keep going with it. Ballet can be very difficult and stressful sometimes, but it is so rewarding and so giving. So yeah, I say just keep pushing if you love it and that's what you want to do, to just keep striving for it.
Ben?
Yeah, on top of that, I would say that I feel like coming from up here, because it's our careers, we take it so seriously, but I feel like obviously it's a wonderful thing to at how young we help kids into this career, but also remember that, she's young and it's dancing's wonderfully fun. So also enjoy it, like have fun.
Yes, right. Fuki?
I would say the same thing. We're ballerinas, and we were obviously here because we fell in love with this art form. And it was just like pure fun for us to dance. And it was just, I don't even know how to describe it. It was just, magical. That's why we're in this art form. So I would say enjoy everything. You can always learn from the older girls or, everyone here in your classroom. Listen well, take corrections well, and just keep dancing.
Mm-hmm. Georgia?
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I've always stood by this sentence, like, dance because you love it. And that's the only reason, because you love it. It makes you feel love and joy and happiness in your heart, and you feel like you're able to share with your friends, with your teachers. Even though we're in this weird time right now, she's probably wearing a mask in class. Just keep going. This time's not going to last forever, but just do it because you love it and it's fun.
Jordan, as someone who kind of had to twist his parents' arms to get them to see the light, would you like to give parents any advice? Same thing. You have a little one, an 8-year-old who loves to dance, and what should parents do or maybe not do to extinguish that flame?
Yeah, I would say definitely if you have a child who is in love with dance or wants to jump into this art form, obviously do as much research as possible with whatever dance school your child may be interested in, or with whatever scholarships or offers may be coming in. Just to give them that opportunity, because dance can really teach you so much, and bring you so many opportunities and bring you so many places. And a lot of the times parents don't really look at dance as a real professional job, but it really, really, really is. And it is a beautiful, beautiful career to have. And so if you do have a child that wants to dance, I would say let them keep pushing for as long as they want to, for them to figure out what it is that they really want to do. And if it is dance, it can bring them a beautiful life.
Mm-hmm. Ben, what are the hallmarks of a really great teacher? Those people who can just change your life and encourage you and make you better.
That's a great question. I would say that actually, yeah. I think the dance world as of right now is kind of transitioning out of something that it used to be, which is a little bit more harsh and a little bit more, you make it or you don't, you sink or you swim. I think that the dance world is starting to open the doors and kind of be more inviting. And so I think at least something what I would look up to personally is someone who really does the best of both, because there's a reason. It's really good to be taught, especially at such a young age, to be disciplined and to, really push for stuff, and to be, told when you're incredibly tired to, you're going to do it again. And you're like, I don't know if I can, but then you find out you're capable of more than you think. So someone who pushes you without, kind of making it condescending or making it about them. It's about you, and a teacher's job is to pass down what they are capable of and what they're not onto someone who could take something a step farther than what they could have. And so I think a wonderful teacher would be someone who, teaches without selfish intentions. Right? That's what I would say.
Right. Georgia, is there an instruction that stands out to you when you're especially challenged? Words of a teacher, words of wisdom that come back to you, encourage you to keep going?
I wouldn't say words necessarily. I would say more of an energy. I was fortunate enough to go to Indiana University for ballet in my freshman year. Violette Verdi, who's a very famous ballerina, was one of our teachers. And just the energy that she brought to every class. She didn't probably even know the freshmen's names, but just that energy and that genuine love of ballet is what I strive to continue to create genuinely in my work. When it gets tough and when it's hard and when I'm down on myself, just remembering her smile and her energy, really helps motivate me.
Beautiful.
Find that love again.
Fuki, Georgia brought up the toe shoes earlier, but I know for so many little girls, the pretty costumes and the spangles and the tulle and the toe shoes are the big attraction. What are the less magical aspects of the ballet, but that you wouldn't give up for the world because they've made you a better person, a more complete human?
Well, I'd say when you picture ballet, just like you said, it's beautiful ballerina, like with beautiful hair and just pink tutu and pink tights and point shoes. But there's definitely a hard aspect of it where you are in the studio all day and maybe you don't want to keep going, but you have to, and you're a sweaty mess. You don't always look so pretty. You're sometimes when we finish rehearsals and our leotards are drenched with sweat, we're not very pretty. Our feet get really, blistery and bloody from point shoes, but it's what makes up the art form. And I love everything about it.
I'm curious about that. I read about ballerinas all the time, how, toenails fall out and they're bleeding, but I have never seen a ballerina bleed through her toe shoes. Why? Is there some special, blocking in there that keeps the blood from showing?
I've seen blood through point shoes from other girls. I like to put, tissues and toe pads and sometimes bandages or tapes to make sure nothing moves in my shoes, because it does really hurt when you're wearing it for 8 hours a day. There's no hiding, definitely not. You just do everything you can to prevent the pain.
I know dancers are really proud of their feet. They just show the articulation and they show hard work and they're muscular. If you guys want to take off your shoes, or if your shoes are already off and you want to show us your feet, I'd love to see them. And I'm going to visit the chat room in the meantime to see. Oh, someone has said it's hard to hear Fuki's mic. So I'm hearing okay. Yeah, you guys go ahead and show your feet. Don't be shy.
Ben, go for it.
All right. What an arch. Wow.
There you go,
Georgia.
Oh my gosh. Well, they actually look pretty good because we've been off for less long, but.
Wow. I'm just a bit, Fuki, why are you laughing so hard? Is it hard to show your feet to non-dancers? You think we'll judge because we don't understand? And let me close my chat here, Jordan. Did you show your feet yet?
No, I didn't yet.
You're not going to?
No, I will.
Ooh. Lovely, lovely. Oh my God, you guys are so beautiful. All right, let me go back to the chat room. Any hobbies anybody want to talk about? I know we have sewers, painters, journalists. Jordan, you ever think about writing? I mean, the life of a dancer is so rich. Do you ever think about writing a memoir or writing a Black Swan type screenplay?
No, I haven't really thought too much outside of the dance world, honestly. I feel like when I retire from me dancing professionally and me performing on stage, I would like to go into a ballet master role or something, but I feel like I always want to stay within the dance world art form. So I haven't really put too much thought into other activities outside of my professional performing career.
All right, well, this question dovetails nicely. Are the dancers taking time to study other lead performers' performances, techniques, acting pointers, port de bras, approach, as well as choreography, both old and new? Thanks. That's from Brad Forsyth. Is Brad a teacher? He sounds like a teacher. That's a great question, Brad. So, Ben, are you doing any of the above?
I'm definitely going back to technique as of now. I know that this is a perfect opportunity for me to kind of shine what I know I can already do and kind of make it a bit cleaner, a bit neater. But I have been able to, I've noticed that so many dancers have put forward different types of stretching or Q&As or classes, a million different things. I've seen so many new and old principal to corps de ballet just kind of present material during quarantine. And I've taken classes from really, really respected professional dancers that I would never have had the opportunity if it weren't for quarantine, because I started doing a class because of this. So that's been really nice. One of them kicked me back into shape. So there's tons of stuff, and I've definitely become much more aware of it since quarantine, if that answers this question at all.
That certainly does. And I have this question for all of you. What dancer, male or female, stands out in your mind as an exceptional actor or actress? My favorite Juliets are always the ones who are just like killer actresses. Who said,
Oh, that might have been
Go
me.
ahead, Jordan.
A dancer that stands out as a great actress. Probably for me, it'd be probably Marianela Nunez. She just is everything to me. She's yeah. I think she's one of the best actresses and characters.
Don't be afraid to be effusive in your praise. I love hearing who dancers love and why they light you up. Georgia?
I can't think of, one that comes to mind right away would be Carla Corbez. She is just a light whenever she performs. But can't think of another one right off the bat. But
it's a good one.
I'm bad with names too.
Fuki?
Probably who Jordan said, Marilyn Nunez, is when I look up to. Her technique is just amazing, but for acting, just like everything is very precise. Everything she does just comes through to the audience. And you knew what she's doing a mile away, which is ultimately our goal when we're acting on stage. We want everyone to see what we're talking about, because we're obviously not talking, we're acting. But we want everyone to understand what we're trying to say. So I just like looking at her acting, I would say.
Ben, same question.
I would say for a woman, I would probably say Tyler Peck. She did a beautiful performance at the Kennedy Center Honors. She did this solo and her energy was astoundingly beautiful. That just resonated in my head. But if I'm really going to be honest, I'll never see someone fulfill the exact role of a character as Baryshnikov does when he dances Don Quixote. So
wow.
that's always pretty good for me.
The word energy keeps coming up. Georgia, you talked about Violette and her energy. Is this something you guys can cultivate and turn on like a light, or does it just have to hit you like a bolt of inspiration? Jordan?
I feel like it's different for every dancer. I don't feel like one dancer can speak as a whole.
Yeah, I want to know each of your responses to that.
I'm a very energetic type dancer. I'm told to calm down a lot. So, and like, yay, calm down, breathe. I'm always, I feel like a very fiery dancer sometimes, but I think each dancer is different. Some dancers find it a little harder to be really fiery powerhouse. They like to be more delicate and vice versa. So it's really different compared to each dancer, I feel.
Yeah, and I don't think delicacy is necessarily in contradiction to energy.
Oh,
I think you can possess both at the same time.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Georgia, is it something that you have access to that you can turn on and off, or does it have to be there, or it's just not?
I think it's kind of always there. I think during a performance too, or a rehearsal where you're in a really important role, it might be sparked a little bit more. But I think at the baseline, that energy of your soul is kind of there. But like everyone, each day is different. Maybe one day we walk into the studio, we're a little bit tired, or we're a little bit, sleepy, our bodies. But, I think it shifts day to day and performance to performance, but I think it's always kind of that baseline of what your soul brings to the art form.
Fuki, have you ever seen a dancer who is, let's say, not the brightest light in class, but when they get on stage, they are just a megastar?
Yes.
How does that happen?
I want to know. I'm still working on it. Definitely, class, I'm typically not looking for other dancers because I'm trying to focus on myself, but there are definitely dancers in my career that I've met that I didn't notice really quite during class, but when I saw them on stage, I was just like, who's that?
Right.
Some people just really, really shine on stage, which is a natural talent. In terms of energy, I would say it depends on the day. Sometimes I have more energy and sometimes I don't. But I think the nerve, being nervous and, the nerve just brings up more energy as well before performance. usually I tell myself, because I'm always nervous before performance, being nervous is a good thing because it gives you energy to be, the best you can be on stage. And then I think the audience can feel that if if it comes from the heart.
That's right. It means you still care. And Ben, why is it that I've been to so many performances and I swear the dancer I just saw is 10 feet tall, and then I go backstage and he's shorter than me. I'm 5'10". How do you guys magnify yourself on stage? It's a mystery?
For me, it's a mystery. I have been blessed by my parents to be over 6 foot, so that's not something that I deal with on a day-to-day. But someone who immediately comes to mind is Misty Copeland. She looks super tall, super elegant, super powerful on stage, and then you walk off stage and she barely brushes your shoulder height-wise, and you're like, wow. It's, I guess, exactly what you're talking about is this energy I think people can portray past their physical capacity. So
right, yeah. Misty's a perfect example. She is doll-like in person, just so delicate. Okay, let's see. For the new dancers, so that would be Georgia and Ben, well, new to AB, I should say. Why did you decide to dance for the AB? If you answered already, please ignore. We came in a few minutes late. Hi, Ginger and Doug. They're huge fans of the ballet and supporters.
Oh.
Georgia, you want to take that one?
Yeah, I was just offered the position and I was ready for a change, a breath of fresh air, especially with COVID and everything. And I had a friend here, which made the transition a lot easier. And I heard really great things about the company. So,
And Ben?
Yeah, I was so lucky with my audition timing. I was able to get like a week or two away from Finland to kind of travel into the States, and I went to a couple companies. Like I would swear 2 weeks before they closed down the borders. So I was very lucky. But Gennady had a great conversation with me. I felt like I really connected with him, and I was drawn to a slightly smaller company. I liked that idea and to kind of have time for me. And I also had friends here, which always helps, always makes it feel a bit more like home. So yeah.
All right, I have a final question because I think we're closing in on time. I was disappointed to learn the Nutcracker would not be unveiled. So Jordan, I want you to tell me how it will look this year. And then I want all of you to tell me what role you were just dying to play in the Nutcracker.
Well, the roles that I always look forward to, I love the roses, the flower scene of the Nutcracker. That's a role that I have danced since we've started this new production of the Nutcracker. So that's definitely a role I'm gonna miss. And I also play the role of Drosselmeyer, which is a big role in the Nutcracker in this version. So I'll miss that as well. And yeah, I feel like it's probably gonna look similar to like, what a bunch of other companies are attempting to try and do. We're all just doing our best to try and put something together to give to the audience. And yeah, I feel like we're just working and trying to get everything going, so.
Fuki, do you know the logistics of the drive-through Nutcracker? I've read about it and I'm trying to visualize, well, what, am I gonna be driving through different scenes and you all keep repeating those scenes? How is that working?
I'm not quite sure what it's gonna look like. I'm sure it's gonna be wonderful.
Do you know what role you'll be dancing?
I'm not sure which cast they're gonna play, but
Okay, so if you could just put your thinking in whomever does the casting and say, this is the role that Fuki should play, what role would that be?
Well, in the past Nutcrackers, I did the role of Chinese. It's very challenging, but it's also rewarding. It's one of my favorite things of Nutcracker. I'm definitely gonna miss it. And like Jordan said, I love the roses and dragonflies. I'm definitely gonna miss it. But I don't know. The Nutcracker is just so familiar to us because we've done it in the past, decade or 2 decades. So anything, just like, because it's just so magical, and so familiar. Just anything would be wonderful.
And Ben, what would your dream role in the Nut, or what is your dream role in the Nutcracker?
Oh, well, I don't know all of the roles for this Nutcracker as much as I've heard incredible things about how it works and the mechanics of everything. Heard a lot about this Nutcracker, but I don't know all the extent of what roles. I've always loved, because I was the only boy in my school back at home. I ended up doing probably everything from a mouse to Drachelmeyer, so I kind of know some of the roles. I've always loved the idea of having like a pas de deux during snow scene. That was always really beautiful. I don't know if they do it here, but it's to watch in the wings and hear the beautiful music and watch the snow fall and see all the women on stage, and it's just it's very visually like amazing, and to be able to be on stage during that is twice as awesome, even if you can't see through all the snow. But I would say, being in snow scene is really awesome.
The snow scene in Atlanta is really awesome because it snows in the audience. Georgia, your dream role in the Nutcracker suite?
Just like Ben, I'm not too familiar with Atlanta Ballet's Nutcracker. I've obviously heard a lot of wonderful things about it as well. I think one part that I was looking forward to joining the new company, it's always flowers and snow. I think that's a really awesome opportunity as women to join together as the corps de ballet and dance together all on stage, producing this huge visual thing with multiple working parts. Knowing how all the dancers interact with each other, I think, is a really powerful thing and huge skill to have as a professional dancer. But I always look forward to those big corps de ballet things where we come together as women and create this awesome visual piece of art.
Well, I thank all four of you for a lifetime of creating awesome, beautiful, incredible visual art. I wish you all continued success and health, most especially, and happiness. And I look forward to seeing you back in performance in, I guess that would be sometime in 2021 or maybe even 2022. I'm willing to wait for perfection. Just stay safe. And then for everyone tuning in, thank you so much for joining us. I know that it can be overwhelming to spend so much time with your screens, but we appreciate your presence tonight. And you can keep up with the particulars of the Atlanta Ballet's Nutcracker this year through their Instagram and Facebook feeds. Good night, everyone.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Take care. Thank you.
Bye.